Ladies and gentlemen, the minister is now here. So may I request that we stand. Welcome, Honorable Minister. May I also request the representatives of the UN Resident Coordinator, the UNDP, the World Bank, and the Norwegian ambassador to join the minister at the high table. UNDP. Okay, UNRC. Do we have? Okay. Norwegian Embassy, the World Bank. All right, and may I request all those sitting on the second row to join the first row. All those sitting on the second row to join the first row and fill the empty seats in front. Dr. Nagoli, if you could come and take one of the seats in front, please. Bwana Kamwendo, please come in and join the high table. Thank you very much, and welcome Honorable Minister, our guest honor, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Honorable Simplex Chichorabanda MP. Before we proceed with the program, may I invite Avin Ngonda to come and give us the opening prayer.
Let's close our eyes and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, as we embark on this journey of launching the National Monitoring and Variation Policy, we seek your divine wisdom and guidance. Grant us clarity of thought and wisdom needed, and the purpose and excellency. May your wisdom shine upon us all, helping us making the right decision at every step. Grant our presenters the ability to communicate with clarity and passion. May their words and performance inspire us and uplift us all, leaving us a lasting impact to all of us. We entrust you with this event and we ask for your blessings, assuring that you be with us throughout this journey. And may you bless us all and may you guide us all. May you be glorified forever and forever. In your holy name we pray, amen.
Thank you, Arvin. Honorable Minister, we are here this morning for the launch of the National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy. So our program has already started with a prayer, and I am Tom Kanje from the National Planning Commission. I will be the Director of Ceremonies, and I will soon be inviting the PS for EP&D, Dr. Jacob Mazarari, to come and give introductory remarks, but I will also let him run the program until he invites you, Honourable Minister, to speak to us, but also launch the policy. After that, we'll take a break for group photo, media interviews, and refreshments. And at that point, we'll allow you, Honourable Minister, to leave, as we know you have got other pressing functions this morning. I would like to recognize the presence of the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Honorable Simplex Chichorabanda MP, who is our guest of honor. Welcome, Honorable Minister. The Principal Secretary for Economic Planning and Development in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Dr. Jacob Mazalare. The Commissioner for National Statistical Office, the National Planning Commission, the Norwegian Deputy Ambassador or his representative or representative present here, the UN Resident Coordinator, the UNDP Resident Representative, the UNDP Resident Representative, the World Bank Country Manager or their representative, development partners, representatives of the academia, all government officials present, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning and welcome to the launch of the National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy this morning by the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs. And it's being held under the theme, Improving Public Sector Performance Through Evidence. Monitoring and evaluation plays a crucial role in national development as it ensures that development planning and implementation is accountable, effective, efficient, and sustainable. At this juncture, allow me to invite the Principal Secretary in the, for Economic Planning and Development in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Dr. Jacob Mazalare, to come and give us his remarks and, as I mentioned, coordinate the program until the Minister comes in to speak to us and launch the policy. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Honorable Simplex Chichorabanda MP, the Commissioner for Statistics and all his representative here present, the Director General of the National Planning Commission, Dr. Tom Muntari, the Deputy Ambassador of the Norwegian Embassy, the UN Resident Coordinator, the UNDP Resident Representative, the World Bank Country Manager, their representative, development partners, representatives from the academia, representatives from the different government offices here present, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Before I say the opening remarks, I just want to add, as was presented by the Masters of Ceremony, that due to the pressing time for the Honorable Minister, will slightly change in that I won't take much of your time now. I want to invite the UNDPRR to make her opening remarks, and then immediately afterwards we ask the UNRCO to make their remarks, and then I come back. So for now, let me ask UNDP to make their presentation. Thank you very much.
Honourable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Honourable Simplex Chichorabanda MP, Principal Secretary for Economic Planning and Development, Dr. Jacob Mazalale, Director General of the National Planning Commission, Dr. Thomas Mutale, senior government officials here present, heads of mission and representatives of the diplomatic corps, colleagues from the UN system, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure and an honour this morning to give some remarks on behalf of both my own institution, UNDP, but also on behalf of the UN system at large, and specifically the UN resident coordinator, Mrs. Rebecca Adadonto, who was unfortunately not able to come herself this morning. As we gather this morning to witness the launch of the M&E policy, allow me to thank and acknowledge the leadership of the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs for this key milestone that will enhance sustainable development in Malawi and propel, we hope, progress towards achieving the Vision 2063 and, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals. This M&E policy demonstrates strong commitment to spearheading an effective collaboration to track performance and evaluate impact to build resilient, inclusive and a sustainable future for Malawi, as embedded in the Malawi Vision 2063 in the first 10-year implementation plan. And ladies and gentlemen, maybe just on a personal note to acknowledge, today more than ever, we know that it is a challenging moment, both for Malawi, but I think also for the world. There are many competing priorities, and so now more than ever, both within the national context, but I also think within the regional and global context, it is doubly important that we collectively, under government leadership, of course, renew our efforts to demonstrate the impact of the critical work of sustainable development and economic transformation. And without a clear M&E policy, that ability to measure and demonstrate impact critically to the population, as well, of course, to Parliament and other critical institutions, will be very difficult. So really to acknowledge the importance of this morning. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my sincere hope that today's launch of the policy is the beginning of an ongoing effort to make performance monitoring and evaluation a way to ensure continuous improvement in public sector, greater impact to our citizens and the country, and better value for money for government expenditure. And of course, having the pleasure to speak not only on behalf of UNDP, but the entire UN system in Malawi, just to acknowledge the very important role played by the broader UN system in this work, but also, of course, the other development partners that accompany Malawi in its objective to achieve the Vision 2063. Our work in performing monitoring and evaluation is about bringing change. It is not just bringing change per se, but making a change that is positive and contributes towards an effective development trajectory for this beautiful country of Malawi. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, monitoring and evaluation is there to understand what government is achieving, where and how improvements can be made, to realize joint commitments in the aspirations of Malawi. But of course, it goes beyond the global framework. It's also about demonstrating concrete impact in the critical sectors that support the population, including, of course, health, education, food security, and the list is long. So maybe, because I know, Honourable Minister, that your time is very short, just to say it's important to note that this policy is not just a national achievement, but a reflection of Malawi's alignment with global best practices in development management, echoing, of course, the principles laid out in the UN's 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This culture of performance management, I think, is really demonstrated, Honourable Minister, despite your very busy agenda, by your personal presence. But I would, of course, like to also acknowledge the critical role of the National Planning Commission, and of course fully acknowledge the critical role that's been played to date by the DG, Dr. Thomas Matali, in this important work, and acknowledge that this is a national-wide and government-wide process, so the presence of so many line ministries is also very noteworthy. So, Honourable Minister, bearing in mind your busy schedule, just allow me to conclude by assuring you of the United Nations' continued commitment and support to your capacity building efforts around public sector institutions to ensure that they have the tools, skills and resources where necessary to demonstrate the impact of the critical development work of your government through this M&E function. We stand beside you as a development community in support of this process. Long live Malawi, zikomo kwambiri.
Honorable Minister, because of time, I want to stand on the established protocols. So, Honorable Minister, I am deeply honored to stand before you today as we embark on a very exciting journey that directly contributes to development. We are here to launch the M&E policy, not as bystanders, people who just want to see things happen, but who are actively participating in doing the job of development in Malawi. And Honorable Minister, this policy we are launching today really hones out our commitment to accountability to all the work that we are doing. The document that we have promises to revolutionize the way we are approaching, implementing, and assessing development activities. It is a very important document, Honorable Minister and colleagues. In our thinking, in our collective thinking as everyone who is interested in M&E, we are saying, we said we want a document that promotes and institutionalizes, systemizes the practice and use of M&E products to spur the effectiveness of all the development efforts that we're putting in place. And this is the time we need this policy most. We need it in every aspect of development that we are undertaking. Because we just need to optimize every tambala that we have. This is a testament to our collective commitment to evidence-based decision making, to performance management, to accountability, to impact-driven development in the public sector. And as the RR was saying, really, this document reminds us that we need to be flexible in the implementation because we need to constantly learn how our efforts are coming out and adjust where needed and foster those that we think are working. The document we have before us is a result of extensive discussions, consultations, collaboration that were put in place to address the critical need for comprehensive framework. Honorable Minister, you would remember that this document is coming from an assessment that we made some 2-3 years ago, the M&E needs assessment. And I just want to highlight a few of the things that we noted in there. First one, there was an absence of a coherent framework, M&E framework. So that meant that everyone was doing as they were, lack of coordination, and that causes a lot of challenges. Fragmented management information systems that are sometimes very difficult to connect. Inconsistencies are very evident in the adoption of M&E frameworks among the different MDAs, with some possessing their own systems while others lack any structured approach. The other lesson we learned was disparities in the presence of the MIS systems. So these and other challenges that we noted really build the foundation for us to do what we're doing today. And it is very important that we embark on a journey of a unified, comprehensive way of approaching M&E, so that all lessons we learned, where we have succeeded and where we have met bottlenecks, we use those as a springboard towards developing Malawi. Honorable Minister, I know we don't have time, but just to say that the policy that we are launching today represents a paradigm shift in the governance and development of our country, as it provides an enabling environment for M&E. The policy will guide the conduct of M&E in the country for evidence-based decision-making and a continuous learning as pillars for sustainable development. Honorable Minister, allow me, therefore, to invite you to launch the M&E policy. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Good morning. Hey. Good morning. Kapena tikuopa kuti M&E framework or policy metu funo panga launchi ibangitsa kuti ka business as usual kachepeko. Good morning. The UN resident coordinator, anyone from the UN family. This is the UN resident representative, those that are representing World Bank, but also our colleagues from development partners, those that are coming from academia, government officials, my dear brother Thomas Chatagara Montari, the Director General of National Planning Commission. I don't know whether we have the Commissioner for National Statistical Office, Mr. Sheraton Kanyanda, Norwegian Deputy Ambassador, and all protocols observed. Once again, good morning. It is such a great honor and privilege to stand before you today to address this distinct gathering at the launch of the National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy. The event, which is themed Improving Public Sector Performance Through Evidence, which marks a significant milestone in our collective journey towards evidence-based decision-making. And before I delve into the core of today's discussions, allow me, on behalf of Malawi government, to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the UN Resident Coordinator, the UNDP, and the other stakeholders for their unwavering support, both technical and financial. Your commitment has been instrumental in the organization of this event and the development, and as well as the launch of Malawi's first ever national M&E policy. The strong partnership between the Malawi government and our development partners exemplifies our shared vision for fostering inclusive economic growth and improving the lives of the most vulnerable members of our society. Your dedication, therefore, to the aspirations outlined in Malawi 2063 serves as a beacon of hope and inspiration for us all. When my dear sister stood here, as well as Dr. Jacob Mazalali, they spoke highly about the M&E policy. And allow me to digress by sharing more on what I think is the M&E national policy. I think the first part is that we have realized that we cannot do without evidence. I think that's the reason why we are talking about evidence-based decision-making. But I wanted to cascaded in two parts. The first one, we are talking about monitoring. The second one, this policy is talking about evaluation. What do we monitor? We monitor the action, which is dubbed implementation. And the result of monitoring is to ensure that there is effective implementation, which is service delivery. But now, how do we measure that the action was done? Then we need to come in and evaluate. And the evaluation focuses on result. The result is the evidence we are talking about now. Time for guesswork is over. We now need evidence-based actions. I think that's very important that I see the National Statistical Office being represented here. So we are evaluating its impact or the result. And what we are about to launch this morning is actually a framework that it defines on how we can monitor and how we can evaluate. Ladies and gentlemen, the governments around the world are increasingly held to high standards of good governance, transparency, and accountability in delivering impactful policies, programs, and projects. Today, through the launch of the M&E policy, Malawi joins this important movement, reaffirming our profound commitment to the efficient and effective use of resources to transform the lives of the people we serve. This policy, therefore, stands as a response to the call for evidence-based decision-making. Ladies and gentlemen, as envisioned in the Malawi 2063, our collective objective is to become an inclusively worth and self-reliant nation. And achieving this goal demands robust systems that continuously assess and improve the effectiveness of our policies, programs, and projects. The National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy is therefore a cornerstone of these efforts. It provides a framework, as I alluded to track progress, manage data, and evaluate the success of our initiatives. But also, on the other hand, it helps us to reshape and redesign our initiatives. Because through the process, we're going to learn on what has been done well or not, therefore informing us on what needs to be done as a next course of action. By institutionalizing M&E, we ensure that development efforts are written or driven by evidence and focused on delivering tangible results that matter to our citizens. This policy, therefore, also aligns our commitment to international and regional aspirations, including the EU Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals within a strengthened M&E system. We are better equipped to achieve both our national ambitions and our global obligations, both of which are very important to development. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, the government of Malawi, through government agencies, donor partners, non-state actors, but also community leaders and citizens alike, would like to join hands in implementing the principles outlined in this policy. Let us remain steadfast in our shared vision to build a transparent, accountable, and responsive government that meets the needs of its people. Together we can create a meaningful change in the lives of our fellow citizens, as Jacob did mention about the paradigm shift, fostering a future where no one is left behind. Let us all harness the power of evidence-based decision-making to drive sustainable progress and build a brighter tomorrow for all. In the spirit of one Malawi, one people and one nation, it is my singular honor and privilege to officially launch the National Monitoring and Evaluation Policy. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that powerful speech that indeed enforces the spirit of M&B. You have emphasized that we should all embrace the spirit of evidence-based decision-making in both planning and implementation of government, of national programs. Let's give the Minister a big round of applause once again. Honourable Minister, I will invite you again to the front alongside the high table so that you should symbolically hand over the policy to the various key stakeholders. May I invite also the Director of Planning in the Ministry of Education, Mrs. Gersomo, to join the group in front in receiving the policy document from the Minister. Honourable Minister, if you could come in front alongside the high table. The DG and the UNRC, please come in. So the Minister of Education will receive it on behalf. Thank you so much, Honourable Minister. The list of the stakeholders will receive the document during the week. It will be given to us. So thank you very much, Honourable Minister. This now marks the end of the opening ceremony, and may I invite all of us outside for a group photograph. The Minister will join us in a minute, so but we can proceed to the group photograph so that we have the group photograph, and thereafter media interviews and refreshments before you come in for the rest of the program. So could we all proceed for the group photograph? The chairs have been set outside. I want to believe so. Then the Minister will join us for the group photograph. Honourable Minister, if you can just hang on a minute, then so that's okay. Yeah, let's proceed, participants, for the group photograph. Please, after the tea break, let's come back into the room for the remaining of the program. It's very brief, just one presentation and we'll be done. Thank you. Good morning once again, distinguished participants. Could we please resume our seat so that we resume our program and get done soon? Those of us still having a cup of tea, we are free to bring it on our where we're sitting. We can have the tea while we are listening to the presentation. So could we all please come back to our seats and bring our tea if we can. Thank you very much. Just to indicate that the policy launch, after the launch, we will end the program. As for the National M&D Week, it will take place next year, early next year, most likely in January. So we're not having the M&D Week as part of the launch of the National M&D policy. So to resume our program, may I invite the Deputy Director for Monitoring and Evaluation in the Department of Economic Planning and Development, Mr. Hemes Maua, to come and give us the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. Yeah, good morning once again. Yeah, so my duty this morning is to give you just a summary of what this policy is all about. It's a very brief policy. It's not long, and you understand why as we go through this presentation. Can I have the next slide, please? Next slide. Yeah, so that is my presentation outline. I'll first talk about the problem, which was ably presented by the PS, and then I'll go through the process, the development process of the policy, and then I'll delve into the purpose of the policy, right through the substance of the policy itself, where we'll look at the broad policy direction, the policy priority areas, policy statements and strategies, and then we'll look at the implementation arrangements briefly, and then conclude with the implementation plan and the M&D framework. Yeah, so as indicated by the PS, this is the first time that as Malawi we are having a national M&D policy. We've never had this one before. We have responded to a number of problems that existed in that space, and some of the problems you are quite familiar with them. You know that hitherto our systems, approaches and methods in M&D have been largely uncoordinated. You find that we are at different levels in the MDAs that we are coming from, defined by the presence of the donors, where we have where we have more donors, you'll notice that at least they do have some systems. Where they don't, MDAs that do not have, you'll notice that there are serious issues. So the systems are not coordinated. They are supposed to be talking to what is obtaining largely on the national M&D space. The second problem is with what I've said, we don't have an explicit guiding framework. And also, there are so many inconsistencies when MDAs are reporting on project and program implementation. And you will also agree with me that the management information systems that are supposed to be with us in MDAs are not mandatory. This has led to some MDAs opting to have MISs, others opting not to have MISs because the space there is not regulated and it's not mandatory. The other problem we have is we have inadequate capacities in data management, and we also, and this one is very very visible, the link between M&D program planning and budgeting is very weak at the moment. That explains why in the budget document you may have a set of indicators that are not talking to what is obtaining at program level in the MDAs, and that is not also talking to what we have in EP&D at the central level. So it's a big problem. We really need this link to be strong so that all the decisions we make are informed by evidence. And in Malawi, we do have this problem of low demand for data. We do not demand. So we thought if we could come up with a policy, it would have guidelines that will make us users demand data. And then to cap it all, we have this serious problem in evaluation. We have a very weak evaluation culture. We do not seem to have many government-led evaluations. Most of the evaluations that we have done or, are as a result of requirements that are tied to the various programs and projects that we are implementing. They are supposed to be government-led because decisions at the highest level are supposed to be informed by evidence. Next slide, please. Yeah, so with those problems, we did sit down to consider coming up with the policy. Of course, the need was informed by so many instruments that we had prior to commencement of, the drafting. But what I can communicate at the moment is we went through a very, very conservative process. We had some extensive consultations on the ground because this is a key requirement. We want to take policies through cabinet. One of the very key issues that cabinet is going to look at is level of consultations. Cabinet has to be satisfied that there were wide consultations and the consultations were very extensive for cabinet to consider passing that policy. So we did that. We had extensive consultations with academia, the CSOs, the NGOs, the UN agencies, development partners, and local councils. And the other thing that we did, because like I said, this is the first time we're having a policy, on M&D in the country. We did not want this policy to be an island. It had to be informed by other policies, notwithstanding the fact that we needed to come up with a policy that is not contradicting other policies. So we looked at a number of policies that already exist, and we got informed through a number of instruments, and I think what we found to be relevant in our case was firstly the Malawi Constitution, secondly the Malawi Public Finance Management Act of 2022, the Public Audit Act, the Local Government Access to Information, the National Statistics Act, Malawi 2063, and other national policies, the protocol, treaties, and agreements that is now going vertical. Horizontally is what I've mentioned, but I think vertically we looked at, I think, policies at regional level, the continent level, and even beyond, so that we are not contradicting with other instruments that are already in play. The purpose of the study, we have three. The first one, obviously, is to institutionalize M&D systems for improved public sector service delivery, accountability, and good governance. This is the point that the minister emphasized quite a lot. We need to institutionalize M&D systems, and by M&D, I mean both the M and the E. We have tended to be a little bit stronger on the M side. We are very weak on the E, but we want to institutionalize both of monitoring and the evaluation aspects. Yeah, so in doing so, the policy has agitated for a platform where we want to establish a government-wide monitoring evaluation system. Yeah, this is the space to which all MDAs will have to relate. And the government-wide monitoring and evaluation system itself will provide an integrated framework of principles, practices, and standards, so that we all play at the same level, we all ascribe to the same standards, we all go or take the same route as guided by the principles and practices that will come through this policy. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is more or less like a flow diagram, but it talks about the broad policy direction. Now I've delved into the substance of the policy. So obviously, we have a goal, and that goal is to strengthen M&D functions for evidence-based planning and implementation of development programs and policies in order to improve public sector performance. So that's our goal. In terms of what outcomes, how will be assessed for us to achieve that goal? We have three outcomes in total. The first outcome is improved enabling environment for evidence-based formulation and implementation of development programs and policies. The second outcome is improved culture of learning and accountability to duty bearers and rights holders. And the third outcome is strengthened integration of M&D systems in the public sector. So those are the 3 outcomes. And in terms of objectives, we have 4 objectives. The first objective is to create a conducive M&D environment for evidence-based programming and policy decisions. The second objective is to produce a well-integrated M&D system that contributes to improved access to information and learning. The third objective is to strengthen M&D capacities of the public sector. And then finally, to achieve a nationwide compliance with M&D principles, standards, and good practices. So for us to make sure that we are on this path, we identified 3 priority areas. And as per requirement, those priority areas have to be accompanied by policy statements. And then these days, we go beyond just statements to giving out strategies on how we intend to achieve the statements that we're going to. So in the next 6 slides or so, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be giving you details of the 3 priority areas. So that is the priority area itself, the statements, the policy statements, and then I'll be concluding on each priority area with the strategies. Some of the strategies that we have attached to the statements. Next slide. Yeah, so those are our 3 priority areas, and they follow a certain logic, because this is the first time we are having this policy in the country. So there's quite a lot that we need to do just to, make sure that we have the right legal and strategic instruments. So we have to put these legal and strategic instruments in place to define or to show us the course of direction that we need to take. And then secondly, we'll have to deal with the capacity issues that we have. These are institutional and performance capacities. What do we need to put in place so that the system is able to generate the necessary information that we want? What skills or level of skills do we need? The actual system itself, should we go the, do we need, for instance, a software, to guide what we do, collection of data, analysis, and everything? All that is, I think, under policy priority 2, where we are looking at those capacities. And then finally, we are looking at the implementation, enforcement. After we have looked at the capacities and we have solved the issues, we have the legal and the strategic instruments. Next thing for us to do, obviously, is to enforce the regulations in the policy. So policy priority area number 3, we'll look at implementation of M&D functions for efficient results-based system delivery. Next slide, please. Yeah, so policy statement number 1, legal and strategic policy level requirements for based M&D. We have about 5 policy statements. The first one is to ensure strengthened coordination and a clear mandate to a central M&D coordinating agency and other complementary units to coordinate, supervise, and guide MDAs in result-based monitoring and evaluation. The second statement is to ensure enhancement of results-based management for good governance and accountability. The third statement is to ensure mandatory requirement for systematic results-based M&D of all programs and policies under related acts of Parliament. And then the fourth statement is to ensure implementation of decentralized M&D functions, to empower councils to generate and use their own accurate, timely, and complete data. And then finally, to ensure supporting participatory M&D processes across all sectors. So for us to realize these 5 statements, we have some strategies. And in the next slide, I've picked just some of the strategies. But if you go into the policy itself, you find there are more strategies than what I've just showcased, what I'm showcasing here. Next slide, please. So under policy priority area 1, we have strategies like strengthening policy and planning units in public institutions, developing M&D guidelines for the public sector, enhancing submission of annual M&D plans and quarterly reports, initiating enactment of related acts of Parliament for compulsory knowledge management and application of RBME, developing user-friendly guidelines for community M&E, and also providing evaluation feedback to communities and the CSOs. The next policy priority area, which is the next slide. Yeah, can I have the next slide, please? Yeah, the next policy, the policy priority area is institution and performance capacities for M&D. And this one too has 5 statements. And the first statement is ensure that the capacity of M&D personnel and relevant committees at all levels increases. The second statement under that priority area is ensure strengthened implementation of M&D activities among MDAs and local authorities. The third statement is ensure establishment of a functional web-based national M&D management information systems. The fourth one, ensure proper management of evaluations of policies, programs, projects, and other interventions. And finally, ensure provision of funding with dedicated annual budgets for M&D in OMDAs and local authorities. Perhaps this is one of the areas where we need to maybe legislate so that we force MDAs and other relevant authorities like Treasury to be releasing or to be making available resources for M&E, because that at the moment is a big issue. So strategies under that priority area include development of a personnel skills assessment system, and reviewing curriculum on M&D programs and courses. And we are also intending to establish university programs or facilitate establishment of university programs on M&D at tertiary level in the public academic institutions. Our friends who are doing well in M&E are way advanced in terms of offering courses or programs at tertiary level. The other strategy is to ensure that all projects undertake the baseline study, midterm review, and final evaluation. This is so very elusive at the moment. Very few MDAs do this. If an MDA does not have a project, it will rarely undertake steps to have baselines. It will rarely take steps to, do the midterm reviews and also the final evaluations. So what I'm saying is most of the time, the MDAs that are not being assisted do not have their decisions backed by evidence, because that is what is supposed to be key. All the decisions that we make in the various MDAs have to be made based on the evidence that is obtaining at that moment. The other strategy under that priority area is to develop a national evaluation plan. I said in the country, on the public space, evaluation is almost dead. It takes MDAs that have projects to do evaluation. Such evaluations are tied to the specific projects that are being implemented in the various MDAs. But we'll have to, with the policy now, we'll have to develop a national evaluation plan and follow through its implementation. And then the final strategy under that is ensuring that OMDAs and councils allocate resources in their budget for M&D. Next slide, please. So the final policy priority area is on implementation of M&D functions for efficient results-based system delivery. Under this priority area, we have three statements. The first one being to ensure establishment and operationalization of the vibrant RBME system at all levels. The second statement to ensure quality assurance standards of ethics for M&D. And the third statement is ensure development and execution of applicable financial sanctions for non-adherence and non-compliance of approved and funded work plans. Yeah, so under those statements, some of the strategies as follows. Next slide, please. Yeah, establishing guidelines for the RBME system and generating and providing quality data for information for continuous monitoring and performance with clear basis. Review sectoral M&D systems and management information system platforms to ensure quality and foster a culture of M&D. Advancing M&D standards and ethics through an independent M&D association. Next strategy is establishing an M&D platform where stakeholders share experiences and lessons. We also, through the policy, intend to create a conducive environment for formation of an independent voluntary professional association for M&D. And also the policy has laid the basis for providing funding on the condition that previous annual work plans and budgets were fully implemented. Here we are trying to tie funding to M&D. So what will happen going forward is you only be funded on production of relevant documents, M&D documents. We may require you to be submitting maybe monthly or quarterly monitoring and evaluation reports, and funding will be tied to submission of those that's what we are trying to do. The next strategy is executing applicable sanctions to non-adherence to agreed upon work plans, and also conducting annual performance reviews and providing recommendations. And finally, we have a strategy on budgeting, where budgeting and financing are based on reviews of performance in MDAs conducted by M&E Netting Ministry. Yeah, so you notice that under the policy priority area 3, I've labored to go through all the strategies, because this is where enforcement will come from, because at the moment it is difficult, and we know we do not have a backing, any legal backing at the moment. But with the coming in of the policy now, we have something that will make us enforce things that are supposed to be enforced. Where necessary, we are going to facilitate legislation of some provisions, so that it becomes legal to be enforcing such provisions. Yeah, next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, so implementation arrangements. Mostly I will just talk about the stakeholders, the key stakeholders that will be in the frame in order to make sure that this policy is being implemented and results are being realized. So the implementing stakeholders are OPC, EP&D, National Planning Commission, NSO, Minister of Local Government, Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Department of Human Resource Management, Minister of Justice, Statutory Corporations, or MDAs, the VOPs, academia, the PEGs, Parliament, development partners, private sector, and CSOs. Of course, OPC, EP&D, and NPC will play the largest roles in public sector M&D because of the nature of their business, and we hope you will understand. And we are going to have the National M&D Technical Committee and subcommittees whose role will be to provide the M&D oversight. Next slide, implementation plan. The policy has an implementation plan, and it focuses on the action areas whose achievements will generate the planned outcomes. And also the policy will be implemented by various stakeholders according to their respective roles. All this is in the policy. When you get it, we know you go through it and you understand your role in there. The M&D framework for this policy will be subjected to monitoring and evaluation. Yeah, as we are implementing it, we'll be required to track the outcomes and the impact. It will be the monitoring will be ongoing and done on a regular basis, as is the case with most of the programs and policies that we have. And we do anticipate that midterm and end-term evaluations will also be done. Like I've indicated, it's a policy, it's a guide. These are just statements of intent that are leading us into taking a specific path, so that by the end of the day, we are seen to be result-based, and that our decisions are informed by evidence. So it will start with this policy. It will have to go through the M&E itself. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moore, for that clear presentation. The importance of institutionalizing M&D in all our work is very important. Let's give him a round of applause. We are now going to the closing part of our event this morning, and I would like to invite Mr. Mawa to come again and give a vote of thanks on behalf of the PS for Economic Planning and Development.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom. I think that is a problem when you are having activities towards the end of the year. Too many competing act. Okay, it wasn't on the program, but if those are views coming from this side, then we can as well have a plenary. Thank you.
Thank you. May I see the hands that would like to comment or indeed ask? Just raise your hand so that I see. Dr. Nagol, you have got this looks like, oh, looks like then. Okay, there's one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Director of Ceremonies, and thanks so much for the presentation that has provided an in-depth understanding of the policy. My name is Toko Shibwana. I work with NGO Regulatory Authority. I am aware that most of the projects in Malawi that are being implemented by NGOs. I know the MDAs have projects, but largely the NGOs are implementing these projects. The standards and principles for M&D may be similar or synonymous, but I just wanted to understand how do we connect the implementation of the CSOs, much as we have seen that they are forming as part of the key stakeholders in the formulation, I'm very sure in the implementation. Because most of the M&D frameworks being used by the NGO sector are also informed by national policies that are formulated in the ministries or sectors, for example, health, education, agriculture, and others. So I wanted to understand how do we make sure that the implementation of the NGOs M&D part of frameworks are culminating or they're informing or they're feeding into the national policy so that by the end of the day, we don't work in isolation because each and every stakeholder in the development sector is complementing to the government efforts. And of course, how do we make sure that the framework is also aligning to the national agenda, the M2063, which is the common song that we are making sure that implementation of every project must be aligned to the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before I invite Mr. Mawa to respond to that one, any last minute thought? Thank you. I think so, Mr. Mawa, you can come, respond to the question, then proceed to give the vote of thanks. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for that intervention, Mr. Chibwana. Yeah, it's a good question. How do we connect implementation of the policy with the NGO world? In the policy, we have acknowledged that the country at the moment is implementing Malawi 2063 through MIP 1. And in the presentation, one of the issues that I talked about is creation of a conducive environment and also formation of VOBI and a platform where stakeholders share experiences and lessons. So we are very much tied to Malawi 2063 through MIP 1 implementation. That's number one. Number two, these programs are public programs. Okay, so in terms of the indicators and what have we are looking at the very same set of indicators. Yeah. So what will happen is at the central level, we are going to have headline indicators. And every player, regardless of where they are playing, could be in the NGO, in government, they will have to relate to the headline indicators, because these headline indicators will be talking to MIP 1 100%. We will not have anything outside MIP 1. We will not create anything new in there. It will just be a framework that all players have to talk to. So that's how we are going to link. And by the way, I think it's also provided for through the same policy that I think CSOs, the NGOs, will have to work with NSO on data issues, data generation. We are looking at the quality because it has to be at the same level with what we produce. The data that you produce will have to go through some quality control instruments so that we are talking about the same thing. Yeah, if it is an indicator to do with number of schools, you're doing some schools, it will be the same indicator that Minister of Education is looking at. So the information coming through has to be the same. Yeah, and this is what this policy is doing, standardizing all that, so that we are on the same level. We are using the same guidelines. We are using the same standards and what have you. So there are so many avenues in which NGOs and government work together, and it's all in black and white in the policy. I hope I have attempted to respond to your question. Yeah, so with that, I was saying that it becomes a problem when you have activities towards the end of the year, because so many competing activities, all of them equally important, and people have to split. So as you can see, the PS is not here, the minister is not here, they have gone to Crossroads for another equally important meeting. So it remains for me to thank you for making time to this launch. It has been a good launch. We now have a policy. For the first time in the country, we now have a national monitoring and evaluation policy. When it is shared out, please go through the policy, because going forward, we'll start enforcing most of the provisions that are in the policy. And we hope that will not come as a surprise, because we'll have shared the document. We'll have hard copies, but the policy will also be shared electronically. It will be available on our website, the EPND website, Ministry of Finance website. The policy will be available. So let us read, let us go through the policy, let us make all those that are around us aware of the provisions that are obtaining in the policy, so that we have a strong base on which we can generate evidence and use that evidence to make decisions. At this point, let me thank UNDP for financing most of the processes in the development of this beautiful policy. The resources were handy because at some point we did not know where to get the resources, but UNDP came and said we are going to provide, because the document you are working on is very important to the nation. So UNDP, thank you so much for the assistance that you have rendered thus far. Once again, thank you so much for gracing this occasion. I thank you so much.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Mawa, and that brings us to the very end of our event this morning. We have finished 1 hour, almost maybe if not 2 hours early. So I think you also need to give a round of applause to the MC for efficiently handling the ceremony. Thank you so much. The hard copies of the policy will be sent to you all who have registered there, and other stakeholders. It will be sent during the week. The electronic copy will be available on the Ministry of Finance website, and as National Planning Commission, we will also undertake to post it on our website once we get the launched copy. So that will be available. For lunch, it was prepared, so make sure as you go outside you get a coupon, but it will be ready at 12:30. So those of us who can manage to come back, or we are close by, you can come and have lunch using the coupon that you receive at the desk. Otherwise, I would like to invite Irvin once again to come and give us the closing. Thank you so much.
All close our eyes, pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time, for this moment. Father, Heavenly Father, as we are closing, we ask you to be with us. Father, as we have discussed and the launch of this policy, we ask you to bless each person and bless everyone who has gathered here, and let your hand of protection be with us all. May the matters discussed serve as a catalyst to move forward and advance us and help us grow together in different areas we are. May we live here recognizing you, and may you grant us all wisdom, and may you bless us all and be with us as we are about to have our lunch. Bless the food that we're going to eat, and bless everyone here as we are about to depart to our respective places. May you be glorified, may you be praised forever. In your holy name I pray. Amen.